to Yokohama. We're in Yokohama Harbor, and you can see right behind me the Yokohama Landmark Building, built in 1993, and kind of a recognizable symbol here in the port. Pretty important town here. We're not going to be spending a lot of time in Yokohama itself, but we're going to be going an expedition to Kamakura, which is a historic seat of shogun power in this part of Japan. But this city is also a pretty important spot. It's really like one of the most populous cities. It's really only second only to Tokyo, with 3.8 million people here. And it's large enough that it kind of sprawls into the Tokyo metropolitan area. And you look on the map, it's kind of like one big city, so to speak. This particular port is really important. You may be familiar with the Sakako period in Japan, which literally means the locked country. And this is where the country for hundreds of years was completely isolated from any kind of foreign trade, or at least very tightly controlled. And there's a lot of history there where the US, with some gunboat diplomacy, kind of forced the opening of Japan. But this port was part of the site of the beginnings of that move to the Industrial Revolution and what's known as the Meiji Restoration back in the 1860s. So Yokohama had the first open port, the first Western style newspaper, first gas lamps, first electrical production, a lot of the first industries, first Western sports, a lot of things we associate with Western society started here first during that restoration. Also, an interesting part about the city of Yokohama is that in December of 1942, the city here was the target of the Doolittle raid, which didn't do a whole lot of damage, but really showed the Japanese in World War II that the United States could reach out and hit their homeland right in the heart. And it was very significant for both countries in that respect. Also in 1945, near the end of the war, B-29 bombers hit Yokohama with firebombs, and in just an hour and 9 minutes destroyed 42% of the city. So that was near the end of the World War II period. After the end of that war, it became a very important port city for the United States as occupiers, and later were supplying for the Korean War. So pretty neat historical place, and once you come along for the ride, we'll take you down to Kamakura and see the sights along the way. So we're in the port, and this is all the plaques. They have these plaques on the ship, and then apparently also in the port. So there's Legend of the Seas, Costa Atlantica, Mariner of the Seas. I think we may have been on that one, Nellie. The Mariner of the Seas, one of our first cruises. Look at this little ship. The cruise ship from 1931 to 1935. Transatlantic. Like the Titanic. Here we have the Royal Wing. Sitting in the port of Yokohama. You can see they built this ramp and deckway just like a ship construction. We are off to find the legendary city of Kamakura.
This is Yokohama Landmark Tower. That's Yokohama Railway Yard and Dockyard.
So the tour guide was just telling us about how the bus talks to people on the outside of the bus, so it's difficult for the driver to see off to the left of the bus because he's sitting on the right. So when he puts on the signal, there's a voice outside the bus that tells the people on the sidewalk to watch out, the bus is turning. So I think that's a nice touch. Very easy to do, and if you had a mind for safety. And we're on the Tokyo Expressway here. All their expressways are toll roads, and they have an automatic card reader for charging that automatically for the drivers. I just want to give you kind of a view of the city here. She said there's no natural beach areas around because they've turned all the coast areas into factories and industrial complexes and plants and so on. There's 142 million people in Japan, so almost half the size of the United States in an area 1/25 of the United States. Essentially the area of the original 13 colonies is about how big Japan is.
So we see the many buildings, and very, very roughly speaking, buildings with balconies, they are condominium buildings or apartment buildings. And this one here, the completed, original one, and completed in 1185 when the first shogun, the Yoritomo, prayed for the easy labor of his wife.
Hey guys, we are in Kamakura, which is a city on the coast here. It's about 700,000, and it's known for being a very mountainous and hilly area and hard to get to. In fact, there's said to be 7 mouths or 7 entrances to the city. And you can see that on the map that it's very mountainous, and it's the seat of historically shogun power, and shogun means army general. So the shogun were powerful entities back in the Middle Ages, and this area from the 1100s on was a very powerful shogun stronghold. And what we're doing here is we're going to visit the Buddhist temple, and we're also going to see a Shinto shrine. And Shintoism is the ancient religion of Japan. It's an animistic religion where they would see like a giant rock or a great big tree, and they would say there must be a spirit living here. And Shinto means the way of God. So it's a ancient religion, and it was somewhat replaced in the early 80s, like 700 AD, somewhere around there, by Buddhism in Japan. So we have 2 dominant religions, Shintoism and Buddhism. We're gonna see a Buddhist temple and then a Shinto shrine on this trip. There's the great Buddha statue, 38 feet tall of bronze. A lot of Japanese school kids here on field trips. So we're at the Kotoku-in Buddhist temple, and the statue behind me is known as the giant Buddha of Kamakura. And it's a statue that's 143 tons of bronze, and it was built originally as a wooden Buddha in 1243, but it was damaged so much by wind that they redid it in bronze in 1248. So very historic Buddha that's considered a national treasure, and one of the very large statues you can see here in Japan. Now we are going to go inside the great Buddha. So this display talks about the ancient karakuri method, where they employed multiple overlapping forms to basically weld together all the different plates of the statue and to make it properly reinforced. It says due to its immense size, the statue was cast in 30 separate stages. So they have the support down here, and then they also have a cast iron plate up here to support the head for earthquakes. This really reminds me of India. It's very humid and tropical birds singing and the types of trees. What did you think of the giant bronze Buddha?
I mean, it's interesting. It's a worthwhile cultural site. Just makes me sad on a spiritual level. People are seeking truth, but
Can't find it.
entirely.
You were asking about the roof. I think those are tiles that are like pottery that's turned together.
It looks very metallic.
It has caps on the end. Might be metal too. The Japanese maples are my favorites. Beautiful trees. They grow so big here. Chocolate ice cream. Arigatou gozaimasu. Cheers. That is some good chocolate. Juice. Fresh squeezed orange juice.
So 21 is Nijuichi, 10 to degrowth. And that festival, actually the festival day is November 15th, is called Hichigo-san Festival. Hichigo-san, age 753, that's the Hichigo-san Festival. It's in November. But the funerals are held in a Buddhist style. So in Japan, so the people follow cremation. And in big cities like Tokyo or this city, cremation is required by law and for hygiene.
So we've been cut loose by our tour group and we're gonna go see a Shinto shrine. And the gate you can see behind us. So we came in the west entrance. Here's the main entrance. A lot of Japanese school kids on field trips. And here's the shrine ahead. So this is the main entrance to the shrine. And the first thing you do is give a donation in the box there. It's a hot day in Kamakura. We will climb the 1,000 steps. At the top of the 1,000 steps, we can stand at the Shinto shrine and see the shopping district behind us. So the Mitsuya cider there is 150. That's basically $1. And $1 for water, natural mineral water for like 70 cents for a big container. Prices are great. These are all $1. Coffee and milk tea, 139 yen per dollar. Tropicana juice for $1. Find those prices in the US, it's always $3 or more. All right, we're gonna leave the shrine. Just take a notice how clean everything is. There's not a garbage can or recycling bin anywhere. If you happen to have garbage in your hand, there's no way you can find a place to put it because there are no garbage cans everywhere. You'll be carrying your garbage for hours. So we're gonna walk back down the main entrance here and go back to the shopping area. Got about 45 minutes, so we have to be back at the bus. That's the trouble with being in a cruise group, is you have very little time to be on your own. So all the way down this street, they have a center walkway that's elevated for approaching the shrine, and it's full of people. So these are the Sakura cherry trees that only bloom for about a week in middle to late March. She said they bloomed really early this year, which is in mid-March, but they only last about a week, so if you're here at the wrong time, you'll miss it. We found this cute little gem shop here, and based on how many of these geodes we've seen and also the shapes, that one there is almost vertical. We think these must be grown in a lab and not naturally occurring, but let me know in the comments what you think. These are the little pancake things that they make, and it's just completely a machine. It's really something. Wow, it's just cute. Beautiful little home here in Japan. So these are the K cars that have the yellow license plates, and they're much lighter and smaller, and they have a lot less tax, and so they're less expensive to own. They only cost about $10,000 new as well, and a lot of families like to have a couple of the K cars. K, which in Japanese means light, and then they'll have maybe a bigger car for other occasions. It's an empty lot there.
Sticker, which means the driver is 75 years age or older. Shogun's era, the top knot, the hairstyle, and was a symbol of Japanese man. But the new government thought the top knot was a symbol of primitive Japan.
If you didn't pick up what she was saying there, she was talking about how senior drivers in Japan get a special sticker on their car saying they're a senior, just like new drivers in training get. And also that the top knot of the samurai or the shogun was outlawed during the Meiji Restoration because it was considered a symbol of being a primitive country. So we got a nice little history lesson as we were driving along here through the city.
Well guys, we are back from our trip to the legendary town of Kamakura, where we saw a Buddhist temple and a Shinto shrine and a pretty nice shopping district. Behind me is the skyline of Yokohama, and just off to this direction is our beautiful Diamond Princess cruise ship, and we'll be embarking in a couple of hours for the second half of our trip. We're walking up the ship planking. Giant boat. There's some alternative energy being produced here by the winds of storms that come through the Yokohama Bay. Here we have a lovely Tokyo Kisen tugboat. Perhaps this will be the tugboat that escorts us out of this lovely harbor. Of course, the Yokohama Landmark building. I would say this building, though, is something of a landmark as well. We always have to have the Japanese Coast Guard to protect us. Okay, guys, that's the Yokohama Bay Bridge. Nice little observation deck there, huh? Anyone in it?
Nope.
Completely empty. Here we go. A few feet to spare. You hear the music reflected off the upper deck, hitting the bridge and back down, and then it fades away. The party has begun. Guys, we had a nice shore excursion and got back about mid-afternoon to the port here in Yokohama, and now we're just heading out to sea. For a lot of the passengers, I guess all but about 200 of us, this is the start of a 7-day cruise, but for some of us it's also just the continuing week of a 13-day. Which they kind of marketed more to the Westerners. So really nice time in Yokohama. We're looking forward to hopefully getting a little bit better weather, so it's been raining and cloudy and stormy most of the time so far. Beautiful Yokohama Bay Bridge behind me there marks our passage out of the bay and out into open ocean. A few notable things here in the harbor. There's some car carriers there. Used to transport products of the Japanese auto industry. Well, it's a very industrial area. Here's the Tsurugaoka power station, and there's another power station over here that's just spewing the smoke and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. You can see the hazy smog around it. You can actually smell it in the air. You see all these oil tanker ships. Back, coal plants, you can see the smoke and the smog there, and the water is actually quite dirty. change all this and clean it all up, given time, technology. So hardly any solar panels. All this can be done with solar.
So everyone, this brings us to the end of our video for the day. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video from Japan. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our videos if you want to see more of this content. We really appreciate you being here.
Well, good evening. How's the meal? Lovely.
Very good.